Hello everyone, this is Stephen Balch, your instructor for Introduction to Macroeconomics at Ozarka College. This morning what I'm going to do is give you a little bit of feedback on the chapters 15 and 16 activities that I finished grading yesterday, and then I'm going to tell you a little bit about the chapter 17 and 18 activities that we have coming up due early next week. Alright, so the first thing is, like I said, I did finish grading the chapters 15 and 16 activities yesterday. Go ahead and look at your grades for those activities and read the grading comments. Let me know if you have any questions at all. I'll be happy to answer any questions that you have. Most of you did well on the chapters 15 and 16 activities. And like I always tell you, I really appreciate those of you that are putting the time and effort in that's needed to do well in this class. So keep up the good work on that. Now, I did notice a couple of you didn't answer some of the assignment questions thoroughly and completely. Just make sure that you're answering all the questions thoroughly and completely. Also, let me remind you that you want to make sure that you're using the resources that I'm providing for completing your assignments. And that would be, of course, you have your textbook, you have the PowerPoint slides that I provide links to on the assignment page. And of course, you have the videos that I've linked on the assignment page. And as stated in the assignment instructions, if you're using any other source of information other than those provided, then you need to properly cite that information where you got it. Okay, there are a couple of you that are including information from other sources that you're not citing. Okay, and I'm going to really be looking at that very closely. So make sure that you're using the resources that are provided for the class, and not, if you do use anything externally, any other source, then you need to make sure you're telling me exactly where you got it and so forth, and properly cite it. Okay, just make sure that you're using all your own words on the assignments and on the discussions. And most of you are, but there are a couple of you that need to pay more attention to that. Okay, and like I said, I am going to be looking at that very closely. So just kind of keep that in mind. All right, the discussion that we had for chapters 15 and 16 that dealt with payday loans, I thought that went very well. I really appreciate everyone's participation on the discussion. I really enjoyed it. So hopefully you were able to kind of use that discussion as a way to kind of expand on what you've learned about in the chapters, and look at kind of how those concepts that we're learning about actually affect the economy in real terms. Okay, affect the households and businesses and so forth in the real world. Okay, all right. So keep up the good work on the discussions. All right. So that brings us to what we've got coming up due next. So if we go to the activities page in my Ozarka, right now we are on kind of the first part of week 13 of the semester, and we don't have anything else due this week. Of course, we just had work due Sunday evening, so we don't have anything else due this week, but we do have work due early next week, specifically Tuesday, April 22nd. You need to have the chapter 17 and 18 assignment, test, and discussion all submitted by April 22nd. So you've got some time. You've got about a week, basically a week from today is when it's due. But I wouldn't wait until early next week to get started. Go ahead and get started this week. At least get some of it done this week, and that way you're not trying to rush around the week after Easter to try to get everything done. So definitely get started on those activities this week. Remember the resources you have. You have your textbook. You have the PowerPoint slides. You have the videos. Use those resources. All right? All the information that you need to answer the assignment questions are in those resources. And I would like you to use those resources. Like I said, most of you are, but just kind of keep that in mind. All right. Chapter 17 covers international trade, exports, imports, comparative advantage, and specialization as it relates to international trade. Now, we've talked about comparative advantage and specialization. That was actually two concepts that we learned at the very beginning of the semester, but we kind of talked about them in kind of general terms. Well, in this chapter, we're going to talk about those as they relate to international trade. And then also in chapter 17, we're going to learn about trade restrictions, trade barriers, and then finally at the end of the chapter, you're going to learn about the 6 arguments for trade restrictions. For example, there's a national defense argument. There's protecting infant industry, industries that are just beginning to start in your country. That is also an argument for trade restrictions. So there's several of them there. So just make sure that you discuss each of those when you're completing your assignment. There is a question about that. All right. So that's chapter 17. Then chapter 18 covers international finance. So you're going to learn about things like balance of payments, trade balance, trade deficits and surpluses, which is something that you hear about on the news quite a bit, especially right now with the tariff policy that's been talked about on the news. Trade deficit, surpluses, foreign exchange rates and markets. And then finally, at the end of chapter 18, you're going to learn about the international monetary system. All right? So again, make sure that you get started on those chapter 17 and 18 activities as soon as possible. And just let me know if you have any questions as you're working on them. And that's really all I have for you for today. So enjoy the rest of this week and your Easter weekend. And I will talk to you again sometime, probably later next week. Thank you.